Hi everyone, it's Tracy here, back with another video. Today I'm using the Sunny Day set from Mint Owl Studio, and I have both of the flat-bottomed clouds. So there's a larger one and a smaller one. And I have a piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going over this with my powder tool just to cut down on any static electricity. And then I am going to stamp both of these kind of randomly with the Versamark ink. It's the clear sticky ink for heat embossing. And I didn't really measure this white piece because both of the edges are going to be cut off anyway, so it doesn't really matter as long as it's large enough to cover the background part, which you'll kind of understand more when I get into the card a little bit farther. So I stamped the larger ones, and then I'm going to stamp a few of the smaller ones in there. And I'm using regular white cardstock. I'm going to be watercoloring, so you might want to use watercolor cardstock. I don't know why I didn't think of that before I started doing this. It worked fine for me because I didn't add very much water, but if you are going to be adding a lot of water, you will want to use some watercolor cardstock so that it doesn't warp as much. And then I am going to cover those with the Hero Arts white embossing powder. And then I can tap off the excess, and then I'll go ahead and take my heat tool and melt all of that embossing powder completely. Alright, like I said, I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring. So I have the Broken China Distress ink, and I'm just squirting that with a little bit of water. And then I have a regular paintbrush. I bought this one at Michael's, so it's just a cheap paintbrush. And then I am coloring all around the clouds with that watercolor. So I'm not coloring inside the clouds at all. I'm just doing the more negative area of that. So the clouds are going to stay white, and the background is going to be this watercolored blue. And I'm just using the one color. You can always go in and add some shading with darker distress inks or add a little bit of color in there, but I just wanted the one color, and you can still tell that it's watercolor, so it definitely does have that watercolor look to it. Another way you could do this is you could use blue cardstock and then color over the cloud part with some of the picket fence like distress stain, because that is more of an opaque white. It's still a little bit see-through, but you would get that white color. And then once I finished, I dried that with my heat tool, or you can just let it air dry completely. Alright, so you can see it's dried now. And I'm going to move on to the rest of my card. So I am also going to stamp the sun. And I'm stamping this on a piece of Coordination's 110-pound cardstock. And I'm stamping that with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And then after I stamped this, I took my heat tool just to make sure that the ink was completely dried. That way it won't smear when you're working with your Copic markers. So I'm doing a little bit of Copic coloring, nothing too intense. I have the Y13 yellow color. I'm just coloring in the entire sun and all of the rays. And then the darker color that I'm using is Y15, so I'm adding little bits of that into like the bottom of the sun rays just so that they're a little bit darker, and then around the sun, the circle part itself. And then I'll add one darker shade, which is the Y17. And then I'll go back in and blend that with the Y13. And then once I finished coloring this, I went ahead and fussy cut it out. These are really easy images to cut out, and you can kind of do it several different ways. You can do it a little bit more close and have the little rays, or just do it as a one solid shape. So then I have two pieces of white cardstock, and like I said, those are going to go alongside the edges. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment first since they will be popped up on my card. I chose the sentiment that says, "Oh Happy Day." And I just set that sun there so that I could kind of guess where it would be and so that I knew where to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere down my cloud piece, and I'm just going to adhere this kind of towards the right hand side of my card. Like I said, the edges will be covered up, so it's not crucial to have it in the exact same spot. And then I have this strip of white cardstock. That one was 1 inch wide by 5.5 inches tall. And I have the 3D foam squares from Best Creation. I chose the larger ones. I'm just adding these to the back of both of those strips of white cardstock because both of those are going to be popped up, and then the cloud piece is flat against the card. So there will be a little bit of dimension on there. And then I can go ahead and remove the backings off of those. And then I'm adhering the smaller one to the right side of the card. I know it looks a little bit backwards because I have the card base upside down. And then I'll remove the backings off from the one that has the sentiment. And then that one is going to go on the left side of my card. Alright, and then I can adhere the sun down. So I have, it's going to be half and half on there. So I'm adding a 3D foam square to one side, and then to the other side I'm just going to add a little bit of ATG adhesive. And then I'll put that down on there so that it's adhered flat against the white piece but popped up against the cloud background. And then I'm going to go over the entire sun with my clear Wink of Stella pen. I just love adding a little bit of sparkle to the sun. I think it adds so much more to the card. And then I'm also going to take it one step further and then cover that sun completely in glossy accents. I love the combination of the glossy accents and the Wink of Stella. I think the glossy accents kind of magnifies that Wink of Stella and makes it shimmer and sparkle even more. You can also use, they have the Irresistible in the clear. It's kind of like glossy accents but with the shimmer already mixed in there. The one thing about that is it's a little bit more watery, so it runs a little bit more, and I don't like using it in tight spaces like the sun rays, just because it is a little bit harder to control. So that's why I chose to use the glossy accents and the Wink of Stella, but it's totally your preference, whichever one you like to use better. And then of course you want to let that dry completely before you mail it or give it to somebody. I like to let mine sit overnight at least. And then I'm using the Blossom sequin mix. I'm just pulling out the light yellow color and then a few of the butterflies that are in there. They're these silver metallic butterflies, and I just think they are the coolest sequins ever. I just love them. And then I'm adhering all of those down with the multi-matte medium. And the nice thing about that is that it dries matte, so if it does squirt outside the edges, you don't even see it on your card. And that's the cool thing about the sequin mixes too, is that you can pull out whichever colors you want, but you do have them all available to you. Alright, and then I'll just go ahead and push those sequins down into place. And then that is my finished card for today. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. We would love to have you. And I will see you back here next time. Bye!